Hello everyone, welcome back to None of This Is Real, It's All Fake, It's All a Facade, where today I essentially have the October Destiny news update video. We have 3 different TWIDs that we're going to go over, all with like little bits of information that I didn't want to make an individual video for, so I'm just kind of combining them all into one. And then what we have what the title of the video is going to be talking about, Osteo Striga and the Season 23 weapon tuning preview. Striga getting a little bit of a nerf there. Not completely unexpected, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. But before we go into any of that, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, me. I have a quick announcement. So Twitch very recently has allowed Twitch partners to multi-stream to YouTube. Before, you could not do that. You could do other platforms, but you couldn't do YouTube. Now you can. And on the 25th, I did my technically second YouTube live stream, and it went over pretty well. So this is just an announcement to be like, hey, I am now streaming on YouTube in case you don't like Twitch or you can't get on Twitch because you're at work and they block Twitch or whatever. I am now going to be simulcasting to YouTube and Twitch at the same time on my usual stream days, which are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, mostly in the afternoon. I am on the West Coast in the USA, so convert that time as you will. Tuesdays, I usually start around reset, although we're going to hit daylight savings soon, so it's going to be like maybe an hour after reset. And then Wednesdays and Fridays are usually in the afternoon, West Coast time. Tuesday is usually my Destiny day, but with the season kind of slowing down now and we're getting kind of into more news-oriented content, I'm not on Destiny as much, so we're going to be hitting some variety stuff. Thank you to everyone who enjoyed the Suika game video, by the way. If you didn't check that out, I really suggest checking it out. I think it was a really good video. It's very encouraging to get a response like I did on that video, so thank you to everyone who watched it, trying to push a little more variety on the channel, just for my own sake, to keep myself interested in things when things are slow. I'm streaming on YouTube now. Come check out the streams. And I'll probably enable memberships for the streams and all that, and we'll fancy it up over time. Thanks again to me for sponsoring this video. So Bungie's got a bunch of preamble here. When we look at weapon balance and PvE, we look at the intended role, we took a look at the ammo type, how safe is it to use, how easy it is to use, how much damage does it do compared to other things. And so they're talking about auto rifles here. You can read all that if you want. But essentially, all of that amounts to auto rifles are getting a 10% buff against red bar enemies. And after having to use not Quicksilver Storm for some reason recently, I can say that this is a very good change. Going from Quicksilver to just a regular legendary auto rifle, painful. Very painful. Quicksilver Storm is gun of the year to me. It's been stapled to me for 8 months now. Going to a legendary auto rifle was just bad. It was awful. So it's getting a 10% buff against red bar enemies. Good change. Pulse rifles, pretty much the same situation. They also feel like not very good. 12.5% buff against red bar enemies and orange bar enemies. They really just need a little bit of a boost. After that hand cannon buff, like hand cannons were starting to feel really good, and pulses were like, good effing luck, pulse rifles, because you're nothing right now compared to hand cannons and whatever else I was using. So another very good change. They definitely needed the help in more end game content. Happy to see that. Glaives are getting a very big buff, which I feel like to the average person is like, oh yeah, I mean, Glaives, like, they're not that good at all. LOL, they're a meme. But they've been slowly growing in popularity, and the people who are good with them are like really good with them. Like, I got buddies who are using them in Grandmasters with me. They're using them like all the time. They really know how to maximize their use. And if you're one of those people, you're probably pog champing your butt off right now, because you're getting a massive buff. Projectile speed up by 30%, because Bungie thought, or I guess people thought Impulse Amplifier was basically a must-have perk for PvP, because trying to hit a moving target from far away is like good luck. In PvE, the projectiles always felt like really, really weak compared to like fusions or shotguns or something like that. So they're getting a projectile PvE damage buff, 25%. I like that. That's a decent part of why I don't use glaives, is like their projectile damage just never really felt that good at all. Like I'd much rather use a fusion rifle or a wave frame. Like wave frames are still absolutely insane. You really got to give me some extra juice to want me to switch over to a glaive, which is just a very specific play style that you need to adopt as well. As a result, they did reduce projectile damage in PvP to account for this increased speed, because I assume people are going to be able to hit more shots. So good projectile changes. I'm a fan as a not glaive person, really. Here's a more interesting change to me. Something that made, glaives feel clunky and unintuitive to use was this massive delay after firing before you can melee. And they were reducing that delay from 0.75 seconds to 0.2 seconds. This is something that always bothered me about glaives, and I was always like, why is this delay even here in the first place, dude? Like, it makes no sense. It's just so awkward to you. It's not fluid. And then Bungie was like, yeah, so this delay exists so that you can't just like dive bomb on people and then shoot your glaive and then insta melee to try to like one shot them. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Just because like glaives are just so uncommon in PvP, I feel like you don't even think about that when you're thinking about like the firing delay on the glaive. So, is this going to be the catalyst that just is like, oh, glaives are insane now? Like, I don't really think so. I think there's just too many people using shotguns to really like see a ton of glaive usage, but I'm sure this is something that Bungie is going to be monitoring to make sure that people aren't just getting dive bombed, insta-gibbed. But we will see. I don't have enough experience with glaives in PvP to really give that much of a take. If you're a glaive expert, feel free to chime in the comments. Shields as well. I really like this change. Made shield energy now recharge passively when the glaive is held at a rate of 1% per second. It's always felt like, you know, just holding the glaive and not really being able to do anything with it. Like, you're low on ammo, so you don't really want to spend a whole lot, and not being able to get that shield is you know, it's just not fun. And it gated a significant portion of the weapon's effectiveness and made using a glaive without energy feel like you were wielding half of a weapon. So now at least, like, you know, as you're entering a new engagement, if you don't have any energy, at least you're like building a little bit of something so you can use that to get in the fray. I'm a big fan of this change. I'm hoping that it's not going to be that much of a PvP menace. You might be able to block like a little bit of damage after holding the glaive for like a really long time. I'm not the most concerned about it, but again, I guess we'll see. They are also changing the base damage resistance. Where is it? Base shield damage resistance remains at 50%, but damage against primary ammo weapons and melee attacks, that damage resistance reduced by 30%. Resistance. Sorry, I said it wrong like 3 times in a row. Resistance. Glaives. Nice PvE changes. I'm into it. Maybe I'll actually bust out a glaive for once. We'll see, but it's going to be tough to pull me off of a wave frame or a fusion rifle, especially now that fusions have been getting stuff like Envious Assassin, Controlled Burst. Like, just absolutely nuts. All right, sniper rifles. The cope continues. Sniper PvE damage buffed up by 15%. Also applies to exotic snipers, aka we're mainly looking at Whisper of the Worm. I know Darcy also exists, but does it really? The main strategies right now, as we've covered, rockets, linears, Leviathan's Breath. Those are the big 3. And they're all pretty simple to use. I don't know the math on sniper PvE damage right now. I don't actually know where they are. I do know that there is some encounter that people are using Whisper of the Worm, or at least, like, it is not unheard of to bust out Whisper of the Worm. I forget what encounter it is. I will have to go back, look in my own video and remember where it was. But without having any, like, damage numbers in front of me, without having, like, a spreadsheet in front of me, I can't really tell you if this is going to move the needle or not on snipers. I think if we get new encounters that really emphasize the use of sniper rifles, like sniper rifles just make the most amount of sense to use there, then we'll maybe start to see snipers a little bit more. But in like your 3-man content, I still don't know if I'm going to be busting out a sniper with a 15% buff. Maybe we're going to see this a little bit more in raids. Again, don't have the math in front of me. I'm sure somebody else has been looking at this a little bit more. I'm still on this is cope. I'm still thinking this is cope. I hope it's not. I hope they become viable. But I think other damage strategies are just too simple to use right now to make people want to switch. Like, people like have their strategies, they're locked in, and unless snipers are doing just so much more damage, so much more. I guess that is Nagi's too. Like, Nagi is getting the 15. Oh, it's only heavy ammo. Never mind. Nagi not getting it. So never mind on that. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think this is going to change too much, but maybe. But probably not. Let's move to exotics. Vex Mythoclast. I still think Vex Mythoclast is a very good gun. I used it after the switch to it going to 360 RPM. It used to be 390. Still thought it was very, very good. It got buffs in Season of the Witch. Bungie is still going to buff it even more. They are increasing the damage against minor combatants by 10%, PvE, bosses by 25%, and against champions by 200% when it's in linear fusion mode. So they're not giving it an anti-champion perk. They're just making it really, really good against champions. And with the just insane amount of tools that we have to deal with champions now, because of that change in Lightfall, where, like, you know, suspend is good against this and suppression is good against that. I'm very, very interested in testing this weapon out in GMs. I think it's gonna be a hit. Just not a lot of people using it right now. I don't know if it's just like fatigue from Vex Mythoclast, because it was pretty good. I mean, it started okay, and then it got really good. But maybe it's just fatigue. Maybe it's just not having an anti-champion thing. I'm not too sure. For me, it was kind of fatigue. But I'm very, very interested in seeing what this looks like in Season 23. I want to see how much damage the linear fusion mode is going to do against these champions. Are we talking like, if you use all 3 shots, are you going to kill a champion? I could see that being within the realm of possibility. So yeah, very interested to see this. Very unexpected, very appreciated. And considering how many other guns out there can just insta-gib champions, like, I don't think this is really that out of scope, out of bounds or anything. So, okay. Revision 0 already has anti-champion built in. It has anti-barrier rounds. And this is also, so they're not buffing it as much as Vex Mythoclast. It's going up by 100%, but it's not like 100% in sniper mode. It's just 100%. So I'm interested to see how much a sniper shot does against a champion. Revision 0, still pretty good gun. Still very, very good. Haven't seen it a whole lot. I've been using Quicksilver Storm because of the grenades, just doing insane amounts of damage. And it's like, would I rather have Revision 0 that's just a pulse rifle with anti-barrier, or would I rather have Quicksilver Storm, which gets to launch grenades basically every magazine? I'm going to take Quicksilver Storm. Also, Quicksilver Storm has that anti-barrier auto rifle for like 3 seasons in a row now. So maybe if that stops being anti-barrier auto rifle for 1 season, Revision 0 will get a little more time to shine. Thorn, it's getting a catalyst. It is finally getting a catalyst. Plus 20 range, plus 10 stability. Getting kills or picking up a remnant grants additional range, handling, and mobility. Been seeing a bit more of Thorn in PvP. Not as much as I thought after the announcement, but definitely seeing it a smidge more. This has the potential to become a menace. They're also, making it so remnants can overflow the magazines up to 40 rounds maximum. Nice little PvE change there. Yeah, because you could only go up to, what was it, 9 shots in the mag, something like that. Wow. Yeah, that might make it a little more fun. Okay. I'm probably still not going to bust it out, but maybe with like a very specialized build, I would. And although considering what's happened to Osteo Striga, maybe you're going to bust out a Thorn too. Look out for it in PvP. Look out. Class Glaives also getting an update. The below changes are for all 3 Glaives to make their exotic functionality more forgiving and more understandable. Grant 1 ammo when you activate the perk, so you can use it when you're out of ammo. Love that. No longer passively drain shield energy when you use special reload to activate the perk. Love that, because that was definitely not worth it. No longer deactivated by reloading or stowing the weapon. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, I tested all the Glaives. God, it was so long ago. And the only one that I really liked was the Hunter one with like the shockwave that goes along the ground. So let's see what they're doing. Change the, so this is the Warlock one. Change the effect of the healing turret projectiles to grant cures and provide restoration. So that's some Solo 3.0 interaction. Larger area of effect helps it reach more nearby allies as well. So they are increasing the AoE radius to 8 meters to benefit more people that are clustered up, and increased its magazine size from 4 to 5. So still same functionality, just they boosted it up. Edge of Titan. This one got a very dramatic shift. Passing through the bubble now grants bonus reload speed, handling, and a small amount of stacking bonus damage in addition to the overshield. So it's basically like a baby Ward of Dawn. But for those of you who were maybe using it for solely defensive purposes, reduced the health of the bubble from 8,000 to 2,400 to account for the increased uptime and improved effects. So if you were one of those very rare people that's like, I love my 8,000 shield bubble, and I hope Bungie doesn't do anything to it at all, you might be a little upset, but I think everybody else is going to be a bit happier to carry around a portable Ward of Dawn with a bit more uptime as well. You are trading that, you know, the bigger bubble for more smaller bubbles and an increased effect. Hunter, Lightning Seeker now jolts targets on impact. Love that. Reduce the direct hit damage of Lightning Seeker to account for the free ammo granted. Okay. I would need to go back and play around with it to know how mad I need to be about that change. But Jolt is a very, very, very strong effect. And I already thought that the Hunter Glaive was like relatively good. And Bungie also feels the same. It's like, yeah, all the changes that we made, like, you know, the ones up here, like, yeah, you don't really need that much more. We'll give you Jolt, but that's it. The Striga. I literally have a video that's called, like, I don't like to use this build because it's so boring, something like that. Striga and Necrotic Grips are one of the most insane, if not the most insane, ad clear setups that you could possibly have in this game, which would be fine if it was hard to use. But not only is it insanely powerful, you can just hip fire spray things to death. You don't have to aim, you don't have to hit crits, you don't have to do anything. You nail some poison on an enemy, and that can just chain forever. And then the poison also grows in damage if you don't hit a target to like really high numbers. It's really insanely strong. I didn't like using it because it was too strong. It just made the game not fun. It's just so boring. Just like, yep. All right, everything's dead. Cool. Like, I know there's a lot of people out there, I'm sure, love it. But this to me is not completely out of nowhere. Like, it is very obvious that Striga combined with Necrotic Grips is completely out of bounds compared to everything else. Let's see what Bungie has to say. Far too powerful for the ease of use it provides when it comes to ad cleared PvE. It has more range than most other SMGs. It doesn't require kills. You don't need precision aim, and it's one of the strongest AoEs we've ever had in the game. The lingering poison damage has benefit from the damage scaler that SMGs get in PvE content, which was intended to buff SMG's direct impact damage. This scaler is one of the highest of any weapon in the game, pushing the poison damage to such an extreme level that it's difficult for any other weapon to compete in the add clear role. This change will not move the needle on Striga by a substantial amount, but it'll at least be less of an outlier. So if everything's right here, here, and like Striga's way up here, it's probably just moving Striga to like here. So it's like still really high above everything else, just not as much. And yeah, I don't think they've said anything about nerfing it further. But to preempt the argument, buffing other weapons up to the same level would be power creep to an extreme degree and very unhealthy for the game as a whole. So it's not something we're going to explore. I feel like that should be obvious. If your average is down here and Striga is up here, you do not want to bring the entire game up to Striga. That just does not make sense. Now everything's as good as Striga, which means just everything is killing everything instantly. That's not a good idea, right? Because then how do you incentivize anyone beyond this? Then we have to go beyond Striga's maximum power as it is right now. Good luck with that. Bad idea. Remove the SMG damage bonus scaler that was affecting the poison damage. Brings it down to match standard necrotic grip poison. Although as an exotic, it will still deal 40% bonus damage against minors. So you're not getting clobbered nearly as badly as you probably should be if you're a Striga lover. But Bungie has noticed. They see what's going on. Salvation's Grip. Place the limit on the detonation when damaging stasis crystals. This will help prevent the detonation from being able to shatter too many crystals on a single frame, which would sometimes kick the player to orbit with an error code. All right, fine. Winter Bite. This is a weapon. I literally don't think I've even used Winter Bite. It was apparently like super, super broken when it first came out. Then it got disabled to get it fixed, and then it came back, and then I have basically never seen it. Increase the detonation damage of the large projectile by 25%. The self-damage blast radiance has been halved, and the self-damage has been reduced. Okay. Maybe I'm going to go give Winterbite a shot. I literally have not used it at all. Maybe it's just like another one of those. It's like Heart Shadow. It's like, I haven't used Heart Shadow. What's up with Heart Shadow? You know, I made that video a couple of years ago. Perks. Got some small things here. Danger Zone. Small change to how Danger Zone works on rockets. You can figure it out for yourself when Season 23. Okay, thanks. Heavy Grip was slightly increasing incoming flinch. Not intended, so they removed it. Precision Instrument. The difference between Precision Instrument and Enhanced was barely noticeable in practice, so we wanted to differentiate it. And enhanced damage bonus stacks from... okay, so it's going to 30%. Up from 26. Okay. Kinetic Tremors, one of those perks that I feel like had a lot of hype, and then I tried it out. I just never really liked it. We wanted to make the activation requirements more consistent across archetypes, so we changed the number of hits needed to trigger it on some weapons. Pulses, common reduced from 12 to 11, so non-enhanced reduced from 12 to 11, but you still need to fire, almost the same amount of shots. And enhanced increased from 9 to 10. So I guess the enhanced was a little too good, and the non-enhanced was not good enough. I feel like this is still like the same amount of bursts that you're going to need to shoot, like for the most part. So not too dramatic. Non-burst sidearms, common reduced from 12 to 8. Enhanced reduced from 9 to 7. Okay, that's one where I can see that making a little more sense with sidearms. Although sidearms, still one of the highest damage dealing PvE weapons overall as an entire archetype of weapon class, because you got to be so close. Additional tuning, big news on Necrochasm, getting a buff to extend the duration of the poison damage over time effect it applies from Curse Thrall Explosion. It'll also have a new catalyst called One for Thrall, which grants a moderate period of damage, increased damage, range, and aim assist when you damage 3 enemies in quick succession. Damaging 3 more enemies while the perk is active refreshes the timer. I feel like if One for All got that change, it might be too much. Like, Stats for All, One for All is one of the most potent combinations to me in the game, perk combinations to me in the game, because you just need to hit 3 different enemies and then you just get insane boosted stuff. I know people were not in love with Outlaw. It made sense on Necrochasm just like because of the perk that it had, but it already had such a high base reload speed that it just didn't really make that much of a difference. So I love One for All. I love that perk. And this is pretty substantial for Necrochasm. Very, very substantial buff to give it. I know some people also really want that Curse Thrall Explosion on Body Shot. Hopefully this change at least makes up for that a little bit. Near future bow tuning in PvP. Thank you. God, I hate bows in PvP. Additional weapon tuning for Checkmate aimed at providing a better diversity of weapons. Bungie has been continually updating Checkmate. I'm actually very surprised at how much they have been doing and following Checkmate. I love Checkmate. I made a video on Checkmate if you want to go check that out. But yeah, one final thing is, we got buffs to Truth, Colony, Dead Man's Tales, a bunch of other exotic weapons. We'll probably hear about that soon. Heavy grenade launchers will get a substantial inventory buff. Cataphract from Trials can currently roll with Envious Assassin and Bait and Switch. And unfortunately, GLs are just not really competitive right now because they run out of ammo so quickly. Like, their DPS is like kind of like there. The last time I checked, I feel like it's pretty close, but because they run out of ammo so quickly, you have to move to a special weapon, and then you're just falling behind using, compared to other people using like rockets or linears or Leviathan's Breath or whatever. So a substantial inventory buff is something that people are monitoring, and I suggest that you monitor. And if you're any kind of a Trials user, maybe start working on that Envious Assassin Bait and Switch, because I could see a world where if grenade launchers get enough of a inventory buff that the math works out, they could enter the world to some degree for certain bosses. Anyway, not every boss is going to be very grenade launcher friendly, especially if they're very mobile, but it's something to monitor. It's definitely something to monitor. So we'll see what that's like I guess this is far future. Okay, this might not come around for a little while. So just keep it in the back of your mind. And if you're playing Trials and it's grenade launcher weekend, just try. Okay, so next I want to cover some other things that have happened throughout the month, other pieces of news. This next batch of stuff, it's actually already in the game, and I just still wanted to point it out because if you weren't paying attention to patch notes or you just don't follow the game that closely, you might not have even known that these things happened. So the first thing that I really want to mention is exotic engram focusing. So it was a good idea, and Bungie introduced it pretty recently, but the cost was just a bit too high, especially with the whole exotic cipher thing and things costing a lot of shards and all that kind of stuff. So this is live in the game right now. Like, we're way past the 17th at this point. Tier 1 focusing is 30,000 Glimmer and 10 enhancement prisms, and tier 2 is 60,000 Glimmer and 2 ascendant shards. I believe they said they changed this to enhancement prisms versus a shard because there's only a very small part of the game that even uses enhancement prisms. Like, there's not that many things that use enhancement prisms, whereas shards are a bit more valuable. So they're like, let's give people a way to actually burn their enhancement prisms instead of burning literally all of their shards on everything. So if you had been collecting a lot of exotic engrams like I had been, like I just auto decrypt them at Rahul. I don't even do the focusing, at least until this change actually happened. That's just some information for you to go enjoy and like, okay, now I can actually, maybe focus some engrams and not have it feel like a complete waste of materials, because you still are at the, at the whim of RNG in hopefully getting a good stat roll. But at least now, for more active players, it's probably going to be a bit more affordable to do. Bungie, essentially, like, all of this is just Bungie basically saying the people who play a lot had no problem, but they still weren't doing it because of the cipher. And then the people who weren't playing as much, they could barely do it because they weren't getting a lot of shards. So now it should be a lot more accessible to everybody. I think this is a very good change. I'm going to be starting to, do a lot more exotic focusing because it doesn't cost that exotic cipher. I only had exotic ciphers because I pulled them from my season pass. Like, that's the only reason I had them. Very, very good change here. It's live literally right now in case you just haven't been paying attention. You don't check that tab or anything like that. So go check that. And then the other thing is the mid-season armor and weapons preview, which is now actually live in the game. Like Antaeus Wards, Young Ahamkara's Spine. These changes are in the game right now. Nerf here, surprising nerf here. And then we have like a lot of this, stuff that just makes your eyes roll into the back of your head. ADS damage, fall off scalar, blah stuff that, people are just not, I can already feel you skipping to the next part of the video. You're just hitting the arrow key, you're tapping your phone. So I'm not going to keep you on here for too much, but this is a lot of just like minor zoom and range changes on a lot of these weapons and stuff. I'm sure this has been covered to death already by, the people who actually decipher this information. The big things for me personally were reducing airborne accuracy penalties for snipers and shotguns. Your boy loves to air snipe. I love doing it. Airborne effectiveness made it so that I really couldn't at all. Snipers are now as accurate at base as they were pre-AE with an Icarus mod. So air sniping is like pretty sort of back a little bit. But they did decrease body shot damage on pretty much all snipers in PvE, and they increased crit multipliers to kind of make up for that. This in combination with the aforementioned sniper PvE damage buff is where, again, maybe something happens. I think still maybe it's a little cope, but we'll see. And then shotguns, yeah, same thing. Decrease airborne accuracy penalty and pellet spread penalty and blah, blah, blah. So those were the big things that I was paying attention to with this particular update. So the next thing was in a different TWID. Sparrows are getting a boost in velocity. We want to share some information with y'all. We've heard feedback for a while now that players who own Always on Time, aka the Scourge of the Past Sparrow, they want to feel like they can safely swap to other Sparrows without sacrificing optimal performance, because Always on Time has like very increased speed. Like, it's just way faster than every other Sparrow in the game. Therefore, Season 23, we set a goal to help players feel more comfortable by swapping off of AOT by improving baseline, exotic, and legendary Sparrows while letting AOT retain some unique functionality. All legendary and exotic Sparrows will have 2 speed selection options moving forward, one matching AOTs and one matching the older highest speed that was available to offer choice in handling and speed control. Upon login, players will, in most cases, default to the fastest option immediately and see the speed update to 190, so up from 160. All legendary and exotic Sparrows will move from 100 to 150 health to be more durable to match AOT's health pool. AOT will continue to retain a few unique benefits, including slightly better fuel economy, slightly lower enemy aggression, and slightly better side-to-side boost. Good. I know there was like a thing a while ago about why they couldn't just increase every other Sparrow to AOT's speed. And I believe it was because of loading zones in PvE. So each like PvE zone has like these sections, right? And then you have these paths that kind of serve as a transition. But while you're in that transition, Bungie is loading the next zone. That's what they're doing. That's why those little areas exist, right? That's why each zone isn't just like right next to each other. And there was a problem where AOT would move faster than the game could load the next zone. And it would cause problems for the game because it would cause you to like hit a loading screen or something like that because you were moving too fast for the game. So I'm wondering if they made enhancements to loading stuff in the game that they were able to now give everyone the ability to have always on time speed. Because if you didn't know that, you'd be like, why isn't every Sparrow this speed? AOT also has like some unique traits on it that like were only set on that Sparrow, and they were gonna have to do like a whole bunch of other changes. I promise I'm not making this up. It exists out there somewhere. I mean, either way, I'm happy to see all the Sparrows go up to 190, but I've actually swapped off of AOT because I was like, dude, it's not even like that great of a looking Sparrow, not that great looking of a Sparrow, if I could speak English. And so I like swapped off to like some of my favorites. So the fact that this is going to be happening season 23, very big fan of this. And if Bungie was able to fix like the loading times on the game in order to make this happen, that's cool too. So now we're going to move to the most recent TWID. That is today, the 26th. Ghost mod changes. They are reducing the energy cost of Ghost mods. So now you can actually care about the mods that are on your Ghost a little bit more, or at least put on one or two more. I don't know about y'all. I basically just throw on the XP mod and I never touch the thing unless I really, really, really want specifically rolled armor. That's it. I never touch it. Maybe now you're not going to like need to change around your mods as much. Like you can leave like Wombo Detector on all the time or something like that. It's a very, very small quality of life change, but I'm happy to see it regardless. Next, another Rahul update. When we brought up pricing changes in the past, we've seen some mention that it can be frustrated that Rahul just doesn't make change happen when talking to him, particularly when there's a big stack of enhancement prisms, but the amount of enhancement cores is a little lower than desirable. We talked to Cryptarch, and he assured us that they could do that. Long story short, starting in Season 23, he can now break down one enhancement prism into 5 cores for 2,500 Glimmer 3 times a week. Here's a summary of everything. So yeah, as we talked about, enhancement prisms, there's not that many places in the game to use them versus enhancement cores, which are basically used everywhere. So now you can kind of like, go the other way essentially, which like, okay, cool. Little extra thing. Friendly reminder from the product security team. Stop cheating. That's it. That's really what they said. They said if you're using a boosting service, there's a very high likelihood that the boosting service is cheating and they'll ban your account. So stop. Just stop it. So that's your big October news TWID update video. We're getting close to season 23, so I imagine we're going to have a lot more of these season 23 previews coming in. We might have an exotic armor one like next week or something like that. I could see them doing a season 23 ability tuning preview next week or the week after, some combination of those. So you're probably going to see a couple more news videos from me in this format as we push into season 23 territory. We're in the second half of season 22. Things are wrapping up. So we got about a month to go for season 23 already. So all right, that's going to do it for me. Buy a computer from Evolve. I'll put the stuff on the screen right now. Use my codes. Use all that kind of stuff. Appreciate your time. If you want to like the video, it helps me in the algorithm. Very appreciated. Or drop a comment, whatever you want to do. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Sorry, that was weird. I didn't end it like that. Sorry. I didn't mean to scare you.